In general, it is mandatory for all vehicles to have their license plates installed at the front and rear in a legible and prominent manner. However, you may have noticed different colored plates, some even with two tones. So what exactly do these colors mean? Welcome to Auto Driven, and today let's talk about the different types of license plates in Singapore.
If you don't already know, license plates are a way of identifying any vehicle in Singapore. Each one is unique and it gives a vehicle a sort of thumbprint. Most vehicles in Singapore will have your standard black license plates or a variation with a white front and yellow rear. However, you may have come across some vehicles with a more striking red color plate. Now these vehicles are actually registered as off-peak cars or OPCs. These fall under three categories: weekend cars, off-peak cars, or revised off-peak cars. While they are easier to register, you will be limited to certain timings. If you want to use your OPC during restricted hours, you will have to get an electronic day pass, which costs $20 a day. There are slight differences between these three categories. You cannot drive your weekend car or off-peak car between 7 AM to 7 PM on weekdays and 7 AM to 3 PM on Saturdays. No restrictions apply to these vehicles on Sundays and public holidays.
Currently, new cars can only be registered as a revised off-peak car or be converted to the ROPC scheme. Cars under the weekend car scheme and off-peak car schemes will remain in their schemes unless they are converted to the ROPC scheme.
Now some vehicles on our roads will have a half red and half yellow license plate, and these are actually vehicles under the classic vehicle scheme. If your car or motorcycle is at least 35 years old, you can convert it to become a classic vehicle. Now you might be wondering, why would anyone bother to convert their vehicle to become a classic vehicle? Well, it's actually a more affordable way to keep it registered on our roads and away from the dreaded scrapyard. You wouldn't want your precious R34 GTR to one day be scrapped, right? Under this scheme, you can only drive your classic vehicles for up to 45 days in a year, including weekends and public holidays. You'll be given 28 days free and can buy up to 17 more. And these passes cannot be converted over to another calendar year. Sadly, once your car or motorcycle has been converted to become a classic vehicle, you cannot convert it back and it's irreversible. If you see a vehicle with orange plates and black letters, it is probably a vehicle that is able to carry hazardous goods. Introduced in 2005, these vehicles are permitted to carry dangerous cargo such as petrol and chemicals. One great example would be those giant tankers that can deliver petrol. Due to their cargo, they are not able to enter tunnels or city areas unless route permissions have been granted by the authorities beforehand. If I were you, I would stay clear of them. Now we come to some of the more unique license plates in Singapore, as these are actually exempted from road tax. If you see a half red and half green license plate with the prefix RU, these are actually restricted use license plates. And as the name suggests, these are actually restricted for some use within some areas in Singapore.
For example, vehicles used within the grounds of Singapore Changi Airport or shuttle buses on Sentosa Island. When travelling out of the restricted boundaries, such vehicles are either required to be tagged with a trade plate or towed.
If you see a half yellow or half blue license plate, these are used to denote research and development vehicles or R&D vehicles and are just as hard to spot on our roads. Those that are more adventurous will have made trips to Pulau Ubin to get away from our Sian Island. But did you notice over there, the vehicles have a very interesting green license plate. These are free from road tax, however are restricted for use only on Pulau Ubin. I mean, not like you can bring those vehicles back to Singapore, right? Pulau Ubin is a separate island after all, and you can't possibly sampan these vehicles back to the mainland. Wish my vehicle was exempted from road tax as well. Never thought Singapore would have that many different types of license plate, right? While it can be confusing at first, these license plates help to differentiate special vehicles and make them easier to identify. Think of it as like your Old Chunky Puff. Just by looking at the colour dot, you know exactly what kind of flavour is inside. Though you may not come across all of these often, at least you now know what each of them represents. Hope you learned something new today. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you again on Auto Driven.
Motorist.